Hello, welcome to Monday Morning Matters live broadcast show brought to you by Magnicraft Consulting Team, anchored by Niyi Dunmade, a certified church consultant with the Society for Church Consulting in the U.S. Here, each Monday of every week, we address important, relevant, and actionable topics of interest that will help you and your church grow healthier. And now, meet your host, Niyi Dunmade. Hello, welcome to
Hello. Good morning, a beautiful morning to every one of you watching the live broadcast show. Welcome to Monday Morning Matter. My name is Niyi Dunmade. I'm the founder and the CEO of Magnicraft Consulting. My name is Niyi Dunmade. I'm the founder and the CEO of Magnicraft Consulting. I'm welcoming you to Monday Morning Matter this morning, 7 a.m. Nigerian time. Thank you for hooking up with us. Thank you for commenting on our posts. We are so glad you are part of this live broadcast. I'm the lead consultant also of Magnicraft Consulting. And Magnicraft Consulting is a church consulting firm that helps local churches to grow healthier through empirical assessments, trainings, and strategic blueprints. Our vision is to be the leading church health consultancy that creates sustainable solution and also adaptable solution. I'm also a certified church consultant with the Society for Church Consulting in the US. I'm also the weekly host to the Facebook Live broadcast show on Facebook and also on YouTube. I'm also known as the Church Health Guide of the 21st century. Thank you for everyone who is sharing our content, who is commenting, who is liking. We've been just been buzzing on social media. Let's keep it buzzing. Also, let's continue the conversation on social media. And then going straight to the juice of today, when church health becomes a problem. When church health becomes a problem. When church health becomes a problem. You see, when church grows, it grows to a point where you have an issue with church health. Okay, I was telling someone yesterday, when you have a church of 100 and you have every one of them inviting one person every year, you find out that there is 200 in 1 year. That means that the church doubles when you have everyone inviting one person. So if everyone is inviting one person for a year, in 3 years, what happens is that the church has gone to 800. I can tell you also that if it goes to 400, it has gone to 1,500. I'm going to show you my screen quickly so that you can understand what I am saying in a nutshell. For me, it's when you have massive birth of conversion, like the way it happened in Act of Apostles, there is bound to be a lot of babies in your church. And one of the things that happened in the early church was that God brought about persecution, and persecution brought about them spreading out, and then they began to become matured. So what I'm saying, quick, let me show my some other things before I show my screen. Now, this is my framework for church health, taught by the society or by Jim Biber. Okay, I usually like to see the church as a tripartite being with spirit, soul, and body. The top sides like the spirit, the downsides like the soul, and then we also have the body because of the spirit and the soul functioning together towards church health and things. So all these 12 things are the things that we see in the early church. They are descriptive in the early church, and we also want to make it prescriptive in today's church. You need to understand your church growth pattern and trends. And so what I will say quickly is, let me just quickly share my screen, and okay, now you can see this is 100. If I start the church with 100, what happens is that in 2019, I'm looking at this screen now, this box now. Okay, if I start the church at 100, and we make sure that every member of the 100 is inviting one person, 1-to-1 conversion ratio. Okay, and what happens is that at the end of 2020, the church has turned to be 200. So they start 2020 as 200, and if those 200 people invite one person, 1-to-1 conversion ratio, okay, at the end of 2020, the church has turned to 400. Now, what happens with the 400? The 400 also has because it doesn't take any spiritual thing to invite someone to church, just to compel someone to come to church. So it's as easy as that. 400 inviting one person. By 2021, the church has grown to 800. And of course, in the fourth year, you can see that in the fourth year, 800, they were able to invite 1-to-1 conversion rate. And by 2022, the church has gone to 1,600. 1,600. So you see, that's just 1,600. And so 1,600 is what the church has gotten to in 4 years. Okay, 1,600 is what the church has gotten in. So what I'm trying to say is that in 4 years, the church has added 1,500. But in 3 years, the church has added 700 with this concept of 1-to-1 conversion rate. So in 3 years, the church has added 700 to the 100 that was kick-started with, to become 800 in 3 years. But in 4 years, that added 1,500 to the 100 to become 1,600. Now, what I'm saying is, the more the church is becoming healthier on a consistent basis, it creates a problem. Okay, it creates a problem. So in order to get healthy, you must be willing to deal and manage with this mess. You must be willing to deal and manage this mess. What am I saying? Out of the 800 attendees that were reached in 3 years, that's the 700 that were added, is the likelihood that the 700 that were added may not be matured, because it takes 3 to 4 years for a disciple to be matured. Okay, that's an assumption. It's an hypothesis. It's an hypothesis. Sorry, something was burning here and I need to address it. Okay, it was an hypothesis, and we need to ensure that those people who are added get matured. Those people who are added get matured. So if we have 100 of the 800 in 3 years who get matured, that is 12.5 who are expected to be matured. And that means that over 80%, that's 87.5%, are not matured. Now, by the time you begin to add one more year, look at the difference. 12.5 are matured of the people, that's 100, and then 87.5, almost 90%, are not matured. But by the time you go ahead with one more year to the fourth year, what happens is that 6.25% are matured of the 1,600, and then 94% are babies in there. Now, what I'm saying is that as your church begins to be healthier, there's a likelihood that your church will be filled with babies. And if you are not having what it takes to disciple those babies, your church will be full with babies. So the assumption is we're going to share that 3 years you have a disciple being matured as a Christian. So one of the things I want to say quickly is that you need to understand the variables of what makes a disciple matured. Okay, in terms of prayer, fellowship, the word, coming to church, fasting, reading the Bible. Those are spiritual exercises, making sure that you move from milk to meat. Okay, I've seen where babies who want to stay on milk for too long, and at the end of the day, they now have that defining moment that they are just being dependent and they are not getting to be responsible to become disciples. And so what I'm saying quickly is that the ideal is that you want one-to-one conversion rate where you have everyone inviting one person every time. But that ideal is not what you get in real life. The more you try to get into the ideal, the real church is going to get messy with our health. And so some churches are unhealthy because they are messy, while others are unhealthy because they do not know how to manage that messy nature of the church. So you have to be careful in times of managing this concept so that you don't get stuck. You don't get to create a barrier for your church. You don't get to make sure that your church is overwhelmed or with this kind of challenge. Okay, there's no perfect local church. There's no ideal church. That this kind of scenario I'm painting for you, it's possible that we don't have that kind of church, but we may have churches who are actually growing as fast towards that ideal state that I'm mentioning. But we have real churches that are far from ideal. But then we have real churches who are actually extremely healthy in terms of how much visitors flow into their front door, and then we have so much of them joining the church in such a manner that we create a lot of immature disciples, which are called babies, in the church. Okay, so the emphasis of church health should be so that it's not only on the numerical numbers, on the numerical growth alone, because what I've just shown to you quickly is the numbers, the metrics behind all what we are talking about. The metrics behind what we are talking about, one-to-one conversion. I want to get back to my desktop again to see how you can see. You see? No, so if my church is 1,000 and okay, the percentages are the same, but you can see that if we're going to go by one-to-one conversion rate, from 1,000 it goes to 2,000 in the first year, 2,000 it goes to 4,000 in the second year, 4,000 it goes to 8,000 in the third year, from 8,000 it goes to 16,000 in the fourth year. You can see that in the fourth year it has added 15,000. You can see the larger the church, the more complex or messier the problem is. You can see that in 3 years, from the 1,000, you're able to add 7,000 in church. And so I'm sure when I talk about thousands, you can see that these are the things that were happening in the early church. 3,000 were added, 5,000 were added, and things like that. And so in 4 years, you have 15,000 people who were added to the church to make it 16,000 in the fourth year. But then you can see that it's also the same percentages where you have 12.5% who out, that is 1,000, who is going to have the possibility of being matured as a disciple at the end of the day. And then you have close to 6.5% in 4 years. So what it means that your discipleship gets lower as you increase in your massive growth from one-to-one conversion rate. But you see, one of the things I will say quickly, away from the conversion ratio, you also need to look at the retention rate. That we need you to get my book, because Your church is not going to grow by the number of visitors that comes into your church, is by the number of visitors that you keep, the number of visitors that you retain. I won't want to flog on that. Go on my YouTube channel. You're going to see a lot of information on that, because the lower the retention rate, the more people who come into your front door exit your back door. And I've consulted with a lot of churches where we have a lot of the feedbacks from congregation, from members, from leaders and workers of churches, telling us that people always come into our church, but we don't see them anymore. When you say you don't see them anymore, what happens is that you cannot give account of them, and possibly they have been part of the statistics of the back door of your church. And so I want to just make it clear that you have to close the back door. You have to close the back door. You have to close the back door. In as much as we want the front door to be wide open, we have to close the back door. Three things that I want us to put our metrics on. That is one, the metrics that tells you that informs you about the number of people who are telling others about Jesus. You need to make sure that the gospel conversations are always increasing. Yes, that leads to invitation to the church, but let's don't dwell on invitation, but dwell more on the gospel conversation that goes in, week out. 3, inviting them to church. Okay, making sure that as you do the gospel conversations every week, every day, through social media, through community penetration, you make sure that you are inviting them to church. Inviting them to church. And as you get people through your front door into your church, we must have what it takes to mature these disciples. Maturing these disciples will not be, gathering them does not just, it's not discipling. You have to create a system, a pathway, a process to see how you can begin the journey of maturing those disciples. Inviting them to church does not make them a convert. Okay, keeping them in church does not make them disciples. You just have to have an effective process to make sure that the church is actually discipling every convert and every guest that comes into the church. A healthy church with a passion, outward focus can expect as much as 50% of the congregation to be loosely connected to at any given time. So what I'm trying to say is, when you have this kind of invitational culture in your church, where you have, let's say my church is 200, and of course in 4 years the church has gone into 3,200 with 1-to-1 conversion rate, what we are saying is, can you work on your 12.5 within the shortest possible of 2-3 years to make sure that you can push 12.5% who are matured Christians who you started with, and make sure that that goes minimum and above 50%. The shorter the time, the more urgent it is for you to work on 12.5 to 50% of your congregation to be loosely connected at any given at that given point in time. But the longer it takes, the lower the percentage and the more work it would take, from 6.25 to 50%. And then the more the attendance, the congregation, which is 1,000. This year is 200. But if you look at 1,000, right? Okay, to be able to move 6.25 who are matured Christians to 50% because of the volume of people you have in your church in terms of congregation and the visitors volume who are coming in every year in terms of doubling, you can see that there's a lot of work to be done. I know I've said quite a lot of things. If you are a bit not clear about some of these things, please just chat me up and let's see how we can make some clarity. These things are things we need to understand. I made a post on Facebook and it raised some uproar. An average CEO who runs a business reads 52 books. And I said, for a pastor or someone who is leading a church, must read like minimum of 100 books plus the Bible every year. And so the reason is because there's a lot. You are not dealing with profit, you are dealing with souls. I see one of the things I will say quickly. You see, the medical doctors spend longer time in school. People who are life related, people who are souls related, people who are surgeons, who are gynecologists, neurosurgeons, those who are very sensitive to health, they spend longer time because a mistake can be catastrophic in the life of a church. We are talking about a soul of a man that you cannot buy but the blood of Jesus. And so you cannot mention an amount that can use to buy the soul of a man. And those who even invented slave trade did a massive mistake in what they were doing at that time. And so I need to make sure that you are well prepared. You go to seminaries, go to Bible school, talk to a consultant, talk to a mentor. Make sure that you are developing yourself, because the world that we are living in right now is going to demand so much from you that if you don't have what it takes to deliver, you might get yourself being on a deficit. And it's not nice as a pastor. You are trying to catch up with the deficit that is going on in your church. And so what I would say quickly is to make sure that you are always on this channel, getting all the tips. You have any question, please let me know. Let us know. If you have any inquiries, let us know. We can come do some deep. There are some things I've shared now. They are deeper than what I'm saying. There's more to it. There's more concept to it. Let's see how you throw your inquiries at us, and let us see how we can help you. You have any question that is church related, let's see how we can move. We can help you get yourself into our conversation. I'm always behind all the social media handles. Let's see how we can connect with you to see how we can get you the clarity. I'm sure if you contact me, you're going to get more than an answer. If this video has been useful to you, please do give us a like, share us to your community, drop us a comment. You've learned from me. If you have not caught some of the things I'm sharing, please rewind back. And it's a live show, so there are some impromptus I did. Please rewind and then watch it again and again. Share it to your pastor, share it to your growth engine anchorman. I also want to learn from you. Drop me a comment on the comment section, and let's keep the conversation going. Please, we also come to churches and faith-based organizations to do consultations, training, strategic planning, and revitalization. Reach out to us and let's see how we can help your church. I want to wrap it up here so that we can continue next week, Monday. My number is on the screen. Let's see how we can keep the conversations going. God bless you. Till I come your way next week, Monday, I say bye-bye. And I love you.